How many times have you learned something that was valuable to your life only to forget it a few days or weeks later? I know you have a few times in your life. It is normal. In this video, I'm going to share what are the 3 steps to mastery that you need to have front and center in your mind when trying to learn something new or extract valuable lessons from an experience. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, I'm Castillo, founder of Selfmastered. We train entrepreneurs and help them scale their businesses by solving their silent bottleneck, the performance. We transform overwhelmed entrepreneurs into laser-focused business athletes that can do in one day what others do in 1 week. Now, before we dive deep into the video, remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss out on any juicy videos and you do not miss out on the promotions that we run for our subscribers. We give away free programs and courses on productivity and performance that can help you up your game for free. So don't miss out on that. Personal and professional growth comes from learning new things, and the faster you can learn, the better you will be able to grow. Now, the problem is that oftentimes we learn something and then we forget it, and then we need to relearn it at a higher cost. And that happens because every time we forget about something, it's because we never go past a surface level of understanding of the thing that matter. From knowing things intellectually to having a full body experience of those things. And this video is about telling you what are the 3 steps that you need to think about and how to transition from surface to deep, from intellectual understanding of the thing to an embodied cognition. The first step is having an intellectual understanding. It's knowing what it is, how it works, and why it matters. It's having an understanding in your mind of the thing. But there's not much effort involved in knowing that thing, and therefore, since there's no effort, there is not much neurological imprint. Remember that every time you're learning something, you are myelinating the connection between the neurons. In other words, you are changing your brain structure. If you just learn new concepts, but do not put them into action, then that learning is very shallow. This is why oftentimes you are way better at proving yourself in the market and working those concepts than trying to learn sales and marketing from books. And this is one of the biggest culprits of poor performance in highly intellectual people, because they procrastinate by learning. They gather book after book trying to gain an edge in knowledge that never translate in an edge in action, because they never put into action everything that they learned, so they eventually forget it and they need to relearn it, right? So the first level of understanding is intellectual understanding of the matter, but it is obviously not enough. Then we have emotional understanding. So once you know something intellectually, you need to rally emotion around it. Information without emotion does not stick in your brain. And this is because of how your brain evolved. If you want to really learn something, you need to put as much emotion as you can into it. And you do so by putting effort into the equation, putting that into the world, and seeing what are the feelings and emotions that come from experiencing that information. Let's say that you are trying to become better at sales. Well, one route would be to read every single sales book, but we would only get intellectual understanding at that point. But what if you would go into hundreds of sales calls and you would be very mindful about what emotions go through your body when talking to strangers to sell them your product? How was that panic feeling you had in your first call? How confident did you feel when you finally were able to sell your product to someone who had incredible results? What level of empathy did you have when you finally realized that you had become good at sales? All of these emotional details is what's going to illuminate the real skill of sales. And if you ever gone to therapy, therapy is all about relieving those feelings that we have associated with facts of our past and reworking that experience. Therapy works with feelings, so we know that having an emotional understanding of things is a prerequisite if we want to remember those things. Therapy, what does is transmutates the bad experience into a good experience by changing the label, roughly speaking. And what you have to do when trying to learn something is by putting as much effort as you need so that you become emotionally attached to the results that exercising that information provides to yourself. But even this is not enough. If you want to become a master at something, you need to transition to the third step, which is embodied cognition or physical cognition. That's when your whole body participates of the experience. And now listen, embodied cognition is a kind of new perspective in cognitive science that postulates that the brain is not the sole generator of behavior. That behavior is generated by the interaction between brain, the natural input that the brain filters, but also the environment. How the environment around us affects the brain also has a saying in the behavior that we demonstrate. The reason why this is a radical claim is because it changes how the brain is perceived, because we always thought the brain was a purveyor of output based on a processing of inputs. But now we know that it plays a wider role in which action and perception also matter. And this is the ultimate level of understanding, is when you bring the environment and your body to the task and you understand things in an embodied way. So not only is it not an intellectual or emotional, it actually affects your whole body, because you have been able to do things so many times that you know how your whole self relates to that experience. And this is not woo-woo science, because if you remember the video we did on your source theories of reflexivity, you'll see that reflexivity, remember, is that theory in which the participants of a market do not base their decisions on the reality, but on their perception of reality. And therefore, there's a dual causal loops between reality itself and what people think about reality. So that creates a loop that proves that such thing as an economic equilibrium just doesn't exist. But if you've read your source Alchemy of Finance, which is the book in which he first talks about reflexivity, you'll remember that he said that he will feel in his body how his fund will perform on the market. He felt a whole body emotional involvement with the performance of his fund. He will get a sore throat that he interpreted as a signal to sell something, or oftentimes he will have heart attack-like symptoms when one of the key values in his portfolio was going down. He would have so much emotional involvement with the performance of his fund that he would use those whole body feelings and sensations to drive decisions and behavior. And of course, this happens when your pattern recognition systems are so in tune with what you do that you start seeing patterns and correlations where otherwise you wouldn't see them. So these are the three levels to understanding. One is an intellectual understanding, knowing the what, the how, the why, but not really caring about it because you haven't brought emotion to it. Level two is emotional understanding. Not only you know how it works, so not only the thought part is covered, but also the emotions and the feelings, and you know how did you relate when you first learn it, and you understand the feelings that will trigger acting on that information. And finally, mastery level, embodied cognition, is when your whole body and your environment that you interact with are actually in tune with what it is that you just learned. When you understand exactly, more than intellectually, more than emotionally, but experientially, how does that information affect your performance. So at this point, you need to ask yourself, every time that you fail to actually learn something, every time that you forgot about something that you thought it was valuable, think about if that thing was experienced as a whole body experience, it was emotionally meaningful to you, or it was just something that intellectually made sense, but you never really cared about it much. So hope this was useful. Please let me know in the comments if you've ever thought about understanding these three steps, and anything that you want to share, we'll be happy to discuss it. See you in the next video.